You are listening to Match Point Canada, and today on the podcast, we're lucky enough to be joined by Lucie Safarova. She retired from pro tennis last year after a great career that peaked at number 5 in the WTA rankings in singles and number 1 in doubles, and she captured 7 singles titles, 15 in doubles, of which 5 of them were Grand Slams. She also made the finals in singles at the 2015 French Open and earned a bronze medal at the 2016 Rio Olympic Games in women's doubles as well. Lucie, thanks so much for coming on to Matchpoint Canada with us this week.
Hello, nice. Pleasure to be joining.
Lucie, we have to start with just the current state of affairs in the world, and it must feel to you in a lot of ways like you picked the right time to retire, getting out before all of this came to pass.
Yeah, it's all really sad, and it makes me sad to watch and to see all the tennis world being stopped for a while. But as you said, it seems like I chose a good time. But yeah, I wish it will continue soon and things go back to normal as quick as possible in the countries. Tennis is a bad sport for this situation because it's so many people from all around the world, so that makes it very difficult.
As we're seeing right now, there have been a few exhibition tournaments that have started up, and obviously there's some fallout from that with some players testing positive from the Adria Tour that Novak Djokovic organized with COVID-19, unfortunately. And with the US Open hoping to still be running later this summer, how would you feel if you were still a player on the tour these days? Would you feel comfortable enough to leave your bubble and go and play an event like that at this time?
It's definitely a tough decision for everyone, but personally, I would be hoping that the circumstances will be getting better, and I would be eager to play and to be on the court. So yes, I would be happy to go and play US Open. On the other hand, I understand that they need to cut down all the people to as less as possible, and without the fans, it's really, I cannot imagine to play on like a Arthur Ashe Stadium just with my coach and coach of the player opponent. So it's definitely not the great scenario, but I think that tennis has to start somewhere, and I think it's a good start to try. Obviously, it makes it difficult if someone is testing positive for COVID, then what they are going to do, and there are a lot of question marks, but I would be the player that would like to probably go and play.
Yeah, it certainly will be, I think, an unusual feeling if we're watching tennis come August, September, October, and there are no spectators in the crowd. And obviously, the French Open is also on the schedule and pushed back to late September. I know for you, that was a slam where you had a lot of success. Of course, the 2015 finals run, and you're used to obviously playing that during June. How much of a difference do you think it will make if that tournament is happening kind of late September and into the fall?
I think the biggest difference is the clay because the calendar has a flow, and at the end of the season or towards the other half of the season, we are used to play only hard courts. So there is US Open, which is on hard court, and then you have to switch back to clay again, which makes it a little difficult. But because there are not many tournaments to prep for it, as you're used to. But in general, there are so few tournaments that it's the only possibility. So, and it's for everyone the same as well. So I guess I think it's better that it is happening, even though it's pushed back to September. And who knows, maybe there is better weather. I remember French Open being freezing cold in the springtime, so hopefully it will be nicer weather in the fall.
Well, that's true, and happy to jog your memory because, as we said, you had such a great finals run in 2015. What do you think it was about your game that maybe does lend to the clay court surface, and what made you quite comfortable there?
Well, when we grow up in Czech, we grow up on all surfaces because in the winter we play on very fast hard courts. In the summer we are on clay. So I think that that's why we learn to adjust to all the surfaces that there are. Besides grass, we don't have many grass courts in Czech, and I kind of like my game fits the clay court, even though I like to play on other surfaces too. But I like to slide and use all the spins, and with lefty, I can I can use my tricks more on clay as well, same as on grass. And yeah, I like clay, and French Open obviously my best result in the career.
That run was so memorable, not just because it was, the peak moment of your singles career, making a Grand Slam final, which would be special for anybody, but just the quality of players that you beat along the way. I mean, taking out Sharapova,
Yeah.
Muguruza,
I actually had a
Ivanovic.
really tough draw, and
Absolutely.
I never look ahead when the draw is out. I always look just for the opponent that I have that round, and I know Rob Stackley, Canadian coach, obviously was there with me, and he just told me like it's a tough draw, but we will go through it step by step. And yeah, I played really well that year, and everything clicked together for me. I felt well, I was healthy, and played the best tennis of my life probably.
And all three of those players that I just mentioned that you beat in that tournament would win the French Open at one time or another. So not just great players on other surfaces, but on clay as well. And then Serena to take her to 3 sets in the final, which is more than a lot of people were able to do against her in a moment like that. What were you feeling during those 2 weeks that made it so special, that made everything fall into place so well for you there?
Honestly, it's funny to look back because when I arrived at this year of French Open, I felt really there were new balls. They were a little heavier balls that year, and I arrived and I was complaining about the balls to Rob, and I was saying I don't feel the ball, and the few days before the tournament started, I was complaining about everything, and we had actually a practice with Jeannie Bouchard on Susan Langland court, and we both played terrible. And I was like, oh my god! And then slowly I was getting into the rhythm there, and played one of my best friends on tour, Nastya Pavushenkova, in the first round, which is never nice to play on a Grand Slam first round of a friend. But I survived that match, was fighting through it, and from that point I really started to feel the ball exactly where I wanted. And yeah, playing Maria on center court was a huge challenge for me, and I was pumped very to get that win, because previously we had a tough three setters with Maria, and I lost some of them, and so I really wanted to beat her right there, and it happened, and that boosted my confidence and into the next rounds. And yeah, step by step, and the finals was, I had chance, I had 2-0 in the third set, but then Serena stepped up the level, and I didn't really do anything wrong, but she just was better there at the end.
No regrets then.
No, no.
You were one of those rare players that had so much success, not just in singles, but in doubles as well. Your doubles career was terrific, reaching number one, the Grand Slam wins that you had there. Why don't we see more players try to accommodate both singles and doubles? And what was it for you that allowed you to have the success in both of those different aspects of the sport?
Well, I love to play doubles, and playing with Bethany was just like playing next to an amazing, fun person who's always energetic, and so just one of my best friends as well. And to it's not easy for a player to play singles and doubles, because you play every day a match, maybe sometimes two matches a day, which is a lot, especially on clay. So that's why many people choose only singles. And I really so much enjoy playing doubles that I played always both of the competitions. And trust me, that French Open, there were many days that I came to the locker room and I was super exhausted. But then when you see Bethany there joking around, and everything is about mental. So
How
once the
can you be
head
tired
got
with a player
in,
like
and
that next to you?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So she pushed me to perform better, and to survive those 2 weeks, and then I was exhausted for a month.
That's funny. Well, we're fortunate to see Bethany Maddox Sands too now on this Tennis United program with one of our
Yeah, she's
Canadians,
it's a lot of
Vasek
fun, and she's
Pospisil.
great
Yeah,
for commentating.
yeah, absolutely. Well, it's great. I think we're establishing a nice Canadian connection too, and we'll get to your coach Rob Steckley in a moment because we've had him on this podcast as well. But just I guess fill us in and our listeners in on what you've been up to. I guess since you left the pro tour, what has life really been like since you did retire?
So I had a very nice retirement. I had actually three.
Yeah.
One with Fed Cup, one at home in Prague, in front of huge crowd, which was very nice. It was the main one, and one in Paris. That I had a nice farewell on the center court there. So it's been really nice goodbye. And ever since then, I've been playing tennis. Actually, right now today, I play tennis with my boyfriend, and I still play for fun. I play with my nieces who are playing tennis, but not planning on coming back. I really enjoyed my off time, and I don't. Most of you know that I have a baby, so I have a baby girl Leah, which is taking all my time at night and at day. So I've been on a full-time job as a mom, which I love, and yeah, still connected to tennis, in touch with my tennis friends on tour, and I've been attending those exhibitions matches which are taking place now in Czech. We had three of those now. The girls play like a team competition between each other, so it was nice to be there and to see them. And I don't miss the traveling at all, to be honest, because tennis traveling is very exhausting. So I've enjoyed being at home, sleep in my bed every day, and having a nice, calm life, I would say.
Yeah, I think for most players you speak to post playing career, they do not miss the travel, and that's one luxury you really feel after you get off the tour, that you're not always in hotel room after hotel room. It seems like you've taken, I guess, a nice step back from the sport while also still being involved. Do you ever miss, I guess, like the competition of it, or you're
A little
okay?
bit, a little
Yeah.
bit. Of course, the tournaments are fun. They are stress as well because you want to compete, you want to do well. But it's fun to be on the court, to engage with the fans, to have the feeling of the win. But there are other things in life, and as I said, being a mom is amazing, and I'm enjoying it fully, and not missing too much tennis right now. But who knows? It hasn't been that long of a time that I'm away from the tour, and maybe I will miss it more in the future. But for right now, I enjoy to be a spectator, and I was breastfeeding while watching Australian Open in the TV, so that made it very different position.
Yeah.
Multitasking. I remember bottle feeding my little twins when they were born with the Australian Open, and it was perfect here in Canada because the kids would get up at all hours, as you know, but there would be
Exactly.
tennis on because of the
Oh,
time difference, so
yeah, exactly,
it was
exactly.
actually okay. Since we're a Tennis Canada podcast, we have to talk about your former Canadian tennis coach that you mentioned, Rob Steckley. I spoke with him on the weekend. He wanted me to say hi, and he wanted me to say that you're the best. So
No, he's the best too.
what was it like partnering with someone like Rob, who is just so different from most of the serious types of coaches that you see out there on tour?
See, I love that about him because he makes it fun. He makes tennis fun, and he makes you really enjoy every day working hard out there, and you still have to put the workload in, but he makes it different, he makes it interesting and fun, as I said. So I love that about him, and he's a super fun personality. Even when we are winning, he's making me laugh. When we were losing, he was making me laugh in the tough situation. And he also has a really good feel when to push you and when not to. So he really knew my personality perfectly. So there were times when he would come on the court and would make me like make me pissed, I would say, telling me how I'm slow and how I'm bad on the court. But he knew how to push me to get the best out of me, I would say. And there were times when he would come out there and make me laugh and shake the stress away from me. So I think that's really important from a coaching point of view to have that feel for a player, because every player is different and you have to know your player and know how to exactly work with her or him.
I was talking to him about the troubles I'm having with my serve right now. Actually, troubles with all parts of my game, but the serve in particular. And he said, "Ask Lucie what it was like when we used to argue about her first and second
Yeah.
serves back in the day."
Yeah, we worked a lot on the serve, on the backhand, on the volleys. Forehand was always my strength, so not so much there. But yeah, it's a lot of work, and you have to put in the hours. Of course, you can be talented more or less, but still you have to work and work. So and yeah, I think he has a good eye what where to go with the changes as well. So if you put more hours with him, you will be good.
I'll try my best.
You mentioned some of the great players. Obviously, you faced in that 2015 run at Roland Garros, and obviously over the course of your career, you got a chance to face so many terrific players. Any players, I guess, standing out the most as like your toughest opponent? I'm sure Serena must be up there, losing that final and having other opportunities to play her. Yeah, I guess who would you view as sort of the toughest you ever faced?
Mhm. Yeah, with Serena, I played many three setters, never beat her. Against Petra Kvitova, my fellow Czech player, I played a lot of three setters, never beat her too. With Maria Sharapova, I won some, I lost some. Actually, one of the top players that I always or almost always beaten was Agnieszka Radwanska, that was a top 10 player for a long time, but it was one of those players that I knew how to play her, and for some reason it was a good matchup for me. And someone who I didn't like to play was Niculescu, because with the sliced forehand and that weird changing of her game, I hated it and I always lost to her. So yeah, those players, of course, there are many more, but I yeah, I I also remember when I started, I played against Mary Pierce. You know, I started in that catch that decade of players. So I'm very thankful for how long was my career and who I could face on the court.
Yeah, and it's interesting how different game styles sometimes match up. I think you would hear other players saying it was a nightmare for them to face Radwanska and her crafty shots, and
Yeah, yeah,
yet you
exactly.
had
Other players
success.
hated it. Yeah.
Yeah, um, yeah. No,
But
and I
she hated my lefty serve and how I placed it into her backhand side and made her run into her forehand. She hated it.
oh,
Now
nice,
she's
nice.
expecting a baby as well. So
Oh, there you
yeah, I
go.
knew the decade of players is coming in, and we are going into the coaches age.
Well, that's a good transition because I'm curious. You know, you've only been away from the tour for about a year, but in terms of new faces, I guess that we're seeing on tour, obviously, we love Bianca Andreescu here in Canada. Are there
Well,
any top
that's for
top
sure.
players? Yeah, yeah. Are there any top players, maybe like Bianca or other names that really stand out to you that you think are probably going to be the next generation of stars?
Yeah, I mean there are quite a few now on the tour, and yeah, Bianca is a very talented player that has all the strokes. You know, she to me, she doesn't have a weakness in her game. She knows how to come to the net, how to slice, how to play fast. She moves well, so I think she has a great future if she's healthy. I know she's been struggling with the health. There is Coco Gauff, a young player, really young player who's also very talented. Ashley Barty is actually really young too, that already reached #1 ranking. So yeah, I mean there are so many new names. I can't even keep up with all of them, but it's great that they're coming. The new generation are coming, and the players are very talented.
Just a couple more questions for you, Lucie, before we let you get back to your parenting over there. But in terms of the direction that the WTA needs to move into, there's always room for improvement in any professional sports. And there's been a lot of talk lately about a potential merger down the road between the WTA and the ATP to get the men and the women combined and on the same page. Would you welcome a suggestion like that? And as a former women's tennis player, professional tennis player, what would you like to see done to make sure that the women are getting as much out of it as the men?
That's a question that contains a lot, because I know
You can give us the scaled down version. That's okay.
I've been on the player council for multiple years, and so I know all the issues from a woman tennis perspective, from a man tennis perspective, and it seems like it's same sport, so it should be easy to unite, but there are a lot of challenges to do that. But at the end of the day, it would be great if that would happen. It's just not easy, because there has to be a lot of compromises to make, and as you mentioned, we are equal on the Grand Slams, but we are definitely not equal on the other tournaments. So to make that happen, it's a challenge, and I would really love to see that happening, to merge those together and be united, and I hope I will still see that happening. But
Yeah.
it's definitely not easy to do.
Yeah, I think we're hopeful too, if it's possible, and if it were to improve the game, I think it's something that would be fantastic. I think we alluded to it earlier, but I'm curious, now that you have taken a step back from the game and you're retired, do you think you would ever welcome a return to the sport and in a coaching position, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to it. I cannot see myself traveling again a lot of weeks, because I
Right.
have the baby,
Mm-hmm.
so that makes things harder. But I definitely love the sport, and I think I have a lot of experience through long career, and to pass that to someone, to share everything I've lived through. I would definitely like to do maybe a few weeks, maybe with someone younger, who's not yet at that WTA level, but slowly getting there. I think that would be probably that age that I could target the most with all my experience. Definitely, but maybe my nieces. I
Yeah.
one is 11 and one is 13. So, but they are yeah, working towards it. It's a long way from a
Mhm.
child to become a pro tennis player.
Absolutely. And I guess with you and your partner, Thomas Plekanec, both being former professional athletes, your daughter will be a half tennis player, half hockey player. Is that correct?
She's already a handful.
Okay.
She's
Okay.
already trying to walk almost, and she's very energetic. But yeah, we will see. I don't think hockey is best, or we would rather see her playing tennis than hockey.
Well, you
Uh,
can't say that on a Canadian podcast
I
because
know,
hockey
I
is so
know.
different.
I know. I mean, she will learn how to ice skate and everything, but I think I hope she will like tennis, and we will see a lot of pressure on her, definitely.
Seriously, well, take your time with that one. We just want to thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast on Matchpoint Canada. And
Thank you
I
for
was
inviting
excited.
me.
Ben was very excited this morning when we were going to be speaking with you. My 6-year-old son was super excited because we're Montreal Canadian fans in this.
Oh, nice.
And so he still has memories of Thomas playing for the Canadians and was very excited that I was going to be
He had
speaking.
a super long career too, and
Yes,
I don't think there are many players who were with one team for the entire career.
it was
So,
very difficult for me to see him very briefly with the Toronto Maple Leafs before he came back to Montreal to finish off. But anyhow, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule with him and your baby, and we wish you
thank
all the
you
best
so
in
much.
retirement. Still lots of time for you to come back. You're still very young, so who knows?
Well, we will see. We will see. I think the coaching is um more of a way for me than a professional tennis player, but you never know.
That's right. Thank
Fair
you,
enough.
Lucie.
Have a good day, and I hope we will see us next time when the tour is already fully working.
That'd be
Yes.
wonderful. We're looking forward to that. Take care.